Welcome back. Here in video 2, we're going to actually dive in and start looking at the Google Suite. So let's move on. First thing we want to talk about is Drive, Google Drive, and the hub, or this is where all of your storage is going to take place. Just a quick show of hands around the room was what we were looking for to gain some sort of formative assessment of how many of you had Google Drive. And a fair number of people did have Google Drive, whether they knew it or not, because they have Gmail. Whether or not they're using it or not, to the best of its abilities, some people may not have been. Others did have more experience with it. So do you have Google Drive? If so, how are you using it, and are you using it to the best of your abilities? Let's take a look at Google Drive real quick and have a conversation about a couple of things that you can do to make your Google Drive a little bit smoother. I'm going to pull up my Google Drive now. I'm going to go back to here. This is my personal Google Drive. In it, I have a quick access tab. This lets me see the things that I have worked on recently. Below that, I have a series of folders. And then below that, I have a whole number of documents that come into play that you can see there. And this is just all of my documents that haven't been placed into a specific file at that time. So let's take a peek at one fun functionality. If you click on My Drive, if you click on the little arrow here and you open it up, what you'll notice is that I have all of my folders here. Now I can assign different documents when I make them into a folder. And then the other fun thing is I can also color code these folders for easier access and for me to be able to see it a little bit clearer when I come in. This one for Classroom is based on a demo classroom that I created in Google Classroom. Everything that I do would be located in here. All of my assignments, all of the submissions from the students, all of the grading that I need to do would all be located inside of there. You may see that the folder is a little bit different, and that's because it has been shared, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But in order to change the color, let's say I didn't want it to be blue, all I'm going to do is right-click on it. I'm going to go to where it says Change Color, and then I can pick any color that I want. Say, for instance, I want it to be cardinal red. Okay, now it's going to be cardinal red. I have a number of different folders. I highlight the ones that are important to me, and I move on. Google Drive is a great resource for you and for your students, especially when you start using Google Education. When you have your own Gmail account, you'll notice that down here in the bottom, we have about 15 gigabytes of data which we are allowed to have through Google. And that's quite a bit. Okay, you'll notice that in my instance, 3 gigabytes of it is dedicated to Gmail and saving my emails and things like that. 2 gigabytes is saved to photos that I upload automatically from my cell phone anytime that I take a picture. And 543 megabytes of it is dedicated to Google Drive. I can tell you that in previous instances, working in schools, I had just a simple Google Drive that I used when I taught back in Ohio, and I never got even close to expiring the amount of data that I needed in order to house all of this information. But here's the best part. When you get into Google Education, this 15 gigabytes goes away, and it is unlimited. You and all of your students will have unlimited storage. That means there's no end to the possibilities you can have. Whether you are Gino and you are doing a huge art project that's going to have tons of pictures in it and high resolution images, and it's going to be a very large file, or whether you are a math instructor like Brett and you're looking at statistics and you have a huge database of statistics and data from which you're going to take and sample and use all of the different functions of Google Sheets. All of it is available to you, and you have an endless supply there. Now, moving on, we're going to create our first document, and that's going to be a Google Doc. Okay, so let's click New, and we could create a folder. We could upload images or files from our computer. We could upload an entire folder from our computer if we wanted to, or we could make a new Google document. Okay. Now, I want to create a Google Doc. If I go to the arrow, it'll let me choose if I want to make it a blank document or from a template. Now, one thing that I want to mention before we go, if I am inside of a folder, say for instance, right now I am in professional development materials, and I make a new item, it will automatically save into that folder. However, if I'm on my drive and I do it, then it's going to be uncategorized and I'm going to have to move it. So as a point of reference, if you want to, say, make a file that you're going to put into your Google Classroom, go into your Google Classroom, find the classroom that you're making the assignment for, and then before you get started, now it'll automatically save exactly where you want it to be. We're going to make a blank document. Okay, it's asking me, do I want to share this? And I do. It'll share with all of my students if I do this. So, and now my students will have automatic access to it. You'll notice that we need to give the document a title. Let's go ahead and call it example. And then we can just go ahead and get in. Now, this is a basic web processing, word processing document at this point. Very similar to Microsoft Word, only the only difference is that this is constantly being updated by Google. It is 100% free, and it is constantly being updated by open source add-ons, which make the technology more fluid and more user-friendly. Another difference between Microsoft Word and this document is that this document automatically saves for you, so no student can lose their work. It also can be shared between multiple students, whereas a Microsoft Word document is what we call static. Means one person can access it, or you can make a copy and send it to somebody, but any changes that you make are only visible to you and not visible to the other person unless you choose to send it back to that individual. By clicking on the share button, and we'll talk about that in a moment, we can have real-time editing with multiple people at the same time on the same document where everyone is working simultaneously to create a fluid document. So the first thing we wanted to do was open a Google Doc and create a new document from a template or original. We made a blank document. If you wanted to make it from a template, all you would have to do would be to open it up, okay, open a new one, okay, or make a new one, and then from your document, you would then choose from a template. You'll get a list of templates that are available to you. You can even add more on or download them to fit the specific need that you have for the project you're doing. Next, we've been talking about this share feature. So let's look at the share feature. Okay, I'm going to click this button. All right, and I can share this document with other people. If I go to advanced right now, I will see who this is shared with. It's shared with me, and it's also shared with anyone who's listed as a teacher in my classroom on Google Classroom. In this case, that individual, no one is done at this time, but I could easily change that by adapting my Google Classroom settings. I can also now invite individuals in multiple ways. If I would like to invite somebody from Gmail, the easiest way for me to do that, or from within our program, is to type their address right in here. Okay, I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, and I can just put in that. This is a secondary email that I use, and I can just go ahead and click send. Now, I have access to it. What if I want the individual to be able to look at what I'm doing, but not be able to make any changes to it? Well, all I have to do is come over here, and I can make them an owner, where they can get rid of this document if they want to. I can give them permission to edit it. I can give them permission to comment on it, or I can just give them permission to view it, and they won't get any of the sharing capacities. Now, for the purposes of this, we'll leave it as can edit, and then we are done. Okay. Other features you can put on here is you can prevent editors from changing the access or adding new people. This is a very useful tool when you are a teacher. This stops students from sharing documents that you share with them individually with others who you would not want them to share it with. Okay. Similarly, you could disable options to download, print, or even copy this for your commenters or viewers. Say you're making a document and it's your own personal property. You don't want somebody to just be able to steal it from you, but you want them to be able to view it so that they can use it as an example. Click that feature, and now they can't download it, print it, or copy it, but they can view it to see how it works. Once you're done, you're all set to move on. Click the Done button, and you can go ahead and begin. Now, we can't show this in real time for this particular video, but now if I were to access this from my other account, both of us would be able to work on this material simultaneously, and we could also edit the material simultaneously. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, this is as simple as Microsoft Word. This is where I would be typing. And that's fairly commonplace. Nothing crazy there, but there's a ton of other stuff that we can do with Google Drive and with Google Documents that we cannot do with a simple Microsoft Word. Okay? For instance, we can create different subsections very easily. You'll notice up here that we're currently typing in normal text. We can create a title. Okay? Let's create a title for this document. And let's call this title the example document. Okay? After that, we can create individual headings, okay, that help to organize our piece. So let's talk about an introduction. Okay? Maybe after that, we're in an English class. We want to have a body. And then after that, we are still in our English class. We want to have a conclusion. Okay? Why is this important to use these features over here? Well, I will show you in just a second. Okay? We'll come back to that in just a moment. But this leads me to the next thing I want to talk with you about. Let's say that I am working on this with a partner, and I don't like the title of example document. I can highlight it, and now this little button appears over here, this little bubble. It says I can add a comment. So I'm going to add a comment there, and I'm going to say, I don't think this title works well. Okay? Comment. Now, the individual is going to see that comment, and they're going to be able to resolve that. Okay? They can make changes to it. Okay? I can also make changes to their document, and they can resolve it by either accepting my changes or rejecting my changes. And those work as comments as well. Additionally, let's say, for instance, I want somebody to change this, okay? And I want my other account to change this. Well, I can notify them of this change by simply putting in the plus sign and then YSU, okay, .rots. I've now mentioned this to this individual. They'll get an email letting them know that I think they need to take a peek at this, okay? But there's even more I can do. Okay. Let's say that I want to assign different sections to different individuals. I'm going to highlight this again. Okay. And I am going to put in YSU.rots. Okay. And now this new feature is going to pop up. It says assign to them. Now, they are the only ones who are going to be able to mark that this was resolved. And they're going to do that after they complete the introduction. Okay, so I've typed it in there, and I can write to my other account, I need you to write the introduction for our group project. They'll get an email. It will let them know that this is assigned to them, and they'll be the only ones who can finish this project. Okay? I could also assign various other projects to different people. I could assign it to myself. I could assign it to other people within the group. And we're all working on this together. I, as the teacher, could do this, or as a group member, I could do this. Next, we talked about being able to suggest changes, okay? Let's go back up here. This is where I would be typing, okay? I'm going to switch from editing to suggesting, okay, where I'm changing the document to simply making suggestions. And I am going to change this section. I don't like how this is written. This is where I would be typing. It feels too passive to me. So I'm going to change it to active voice. Okay? So I'm going to write, typing occurs in this section. Now, I've made that suggestion. Over here, you notice that it shows what I did to the document. Okay? And it also lets the individual accept or reject that choice based on what they would like to do. Okay? So they can highlight it, it comes in, and they can either reject my suggestion, no, I like it the way that it was, or they can accept it, and it will change the document on their behalf. Let's go ahead and accept it. The old information goes away, the new is accepted, similar to how you can do peer editing in a Microsoft Word document. Next, discovering new fonts. These are all fun fonts, but really this is just Arial. We want to get away from this because it's no fun. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other things that we could be doing. Okay? By going to Tools, by going to Font, right up here, we can select any new font that we want. Some of them are ones that I have already built in. But if you click on this More Fonts button, you can find a whole cornucopia of different fonts that you can use in Google Docs so that you can make any kind of font that you want. Search by name if you know the font already, or you can pick how you want it to look. Do you want it for display purposes? Do you want it to be a handwriting font? Monospace, so for single space documents, serif or sans serif style fonts. Maybe I want a serif font because they're the easiest to read. Okay? Well, now I have this whole list of different ones that I can do. I like the one from Droid, so I'm going to add it. Okay, I click OK. It has been added, and now I can use that font right away. Okay, and it's different from the classic Arial that I was using before. Okay, simply change it. Okay, moving on from here. All right, next thing that we want to do, useful add-ons. We mentioned that this is constantly being changed. And one way that they do that is by using add-ons. Okay? If I wanted to share this document with somebody, or if I wanted to upload it, or if I wanted the students in my class to access it, I don't want to have to write this gigantically long URL up on the board before they do that. What I can do is I can use this add-on that I found called URL Shortener. I can get a document link, I could shorten a selected URL, or I could shorten and replace a selected URL. So let me get a link for my document that'll be shorter and easier for me to write up on the board. Boom. There it is. Instead of this gigantic, long, huge URL, now all the students have to do in order to get access to my document is type in this much shorter one. It's even made shorter when you know that this section right here, before this forward slash through the Google, is always the same. So the only thing that's changed is this 6-digit alphanumeric code for my specific document. And I'm ready to go. I could upload that onto a website. I could put that inside of a presentation. I could post it on the board. I could put it inside of my Google Classroom. What else can you do with this feature? Well, you can insert tables. Say you are working on a project for math, and for one of the problems that you have to use a table. Well, now what you can do is you can pick the size of your table, however wide you want it to be, however many rows you want it to have, or columns, excuse me, and however many rows you want it to have. Go ahead and then just hover over it. You see as I move around, it tells me this is going to be a 6 by 5. I'm fine with that, so let's go ahead and put that in. Google puts it in for me. It also formats it so that it fits onto my document and spaces it accordingly. And now I can enter in data into this table. Okay. I could also insert a table directly from another document. Okay. If I want to insert a table that I have already done in Google Sheets, I can do that as well. Okay, and I can do that in the open menu and simply open up or bring in that new document. Okay, I can also insert a drawing. Let's say I'm in a social studies classroom and I want to insert a drawing because I want a Venn diagram so I can compare and contrast. I now have a drawing template. I am going to select the shape. I want it to be a circle because I'm making a Venn diagram, and I'm going to make a circle. Okay, there's my circle, first one. I want to make it transparent. I don't want it to be blue because I want the students to be able to write inside of it. And I'm just going to control copy that, and I'm going to make another copy, and let's paste it right over there. I can then move it, and let's paste another one. I can move it right there, and now I have a nice simple little Venn diagram. Okay, and I'm ready to go. I save and close. Hey, there's my Venn diagram right there for me. And students can simply add in a text box. Okay, and they can go ahead and just edit that information right there, right in it. Okay, if I want to wrap the text around it, I can wrap the text around it. If I want to break the text, I can break the text. Okay, I can also opt to move this to the back and then just write over the top of it. Okay, I can do a number of things with this now that I have this drawing in here. You could also assign your students to draw something, okay, to represent visually what they are thinking for a concept. Maybe you are in your English class and you're doing vocabulary cards. Now what you can do is you can create that 4-part page setup, and you can do the word, the document, or the definition, a visual representation, and then something that helps you to remember it, or a mnemonic device. And you can do all of that just on Google Drive. Next thing we want to talk about is a brand new feature on Google Documents. So if you haven't been on your Google Docs in a while, you may have missed this. It's called the Explore feature. How many of us have wanted to create something on Microsoft Word or find an image, but then we're constantly bouncing back and forth between windows? With the Explore feature, it opens Google right in our window for us. So let's say I want to find an image of, I don't know, a Cocker Spaniel. Okay, I can get web results. I can get Google Drive results if I had any files that were talking about Cocker Spaniels, or I could get images like this. Say I want to add this image, insert it. Well, look, there's that plus sign. I can insert it. Boom. It's right in my document for me. Okay, and I'm ready to move on. Okay, it was that simple. Do I want to change it? Sure, I can adjust it. I can change how it's going to be viewed in the image. Okay, so I can text wrap around it. It even has the link from the site that I used in order to find it. Okay, so I have all of these options available to me. Okay, and it leaves a link for me. Okay, next, we were talking about we can also create a footnote. Okay, and let's show you how we can do that for citation purposes. So let's say you're doing a research paper in your science class, and you are doing it on Cocker Spaniels. Okay, well, you just used Cocker Spaniel's dog breed information and pictures in order to get some information for your thing. No, let's use the American Kennel Club. That looks a lot more reasonable. Okay, but Mr. 4 wants to make sure that if you're doing your project, you have to cite your sources. Okay, so I can click on here and I can cite this as a footnote. Okay. Let's say the information is over here. So, exhibited in the 1880s, the Cocker Spaniel remains one of the most popular breeds. Okay, so I want to put in my footnote. I can choose what citation format I want. So English teachers, if you're teaching your students about APA for college purposes, you can use APA. But most of us will use MLA. I click this little cite as a footnote. And if I look down at the bottom, there it is in perfect MLA format. Cocker Spaniel dog breed information, American Kennel Club. When it was published, when I accessed it, and the website. And I'm ready to go. I'm making my bibliography just as I'm moving along. Speaking of bibliographies, if you want your students to know about it, there is an easy add-on for that by going to Get More Add-ons, and you can get an add-on for EasyBib right in your Google document. I know many English teachers have used EasyBib before online. How would you like to be able to use EasyBib right inside of the document that you're using? Just go ahead and click it. It's 100% free. Pick your account that you're using it for. I'm going to use my account. Click Allow. Bada bing, bada boom. Now it's in my add-on, and I can create my bibliography right here in my document. Okay? How cool is that? Last thing that I want to show you started at the very beginning. You recall that we had set up these different headings, right? Well, now we can create a table of contents. Okay? Is. And now we have a full outline of our document, and it'll take us to the different sections based on how we were writing, all based on these headings. So if you use the different headings inside, it will transport you to different parts of your document. How cool is that? Okay. We'll talk more about some other features that are in Google Docs in the future, but the last one I wanted to leave you with was probably the best one, and that is your ability to insert or use, voice typing. And this can be great for people who are just busy. This can be great for students who have a hard time with typing. This can be excellent for our foreign language instructors, and I want to talk about them first. So let me just show you how it works. Watch me now as I am able to type. Google is able to do everything for me. The only thing I need to do is tell Google when it needs to put in a period. Punctuation is the hardest thing to use when you are doing voice typing. It takes a little while to get used to it. I suggest that you get some time to practice it yourself. That way you don't have to go back and do a number of edits. Period. What if I want to change the language? I want to be doing something for Frau's class. Guten Tag, wie geht's Ihnen? I guess it didn't listen to me. Guten Tag, wie geht's Ihnen? There we go. What if I want to do something for Senora's class? I can pick what version of Espanol I want. In this case, I just simply am going to use the standard Espanol. Buenos días. Me llamo Señoras. Y hoy es lunes. Okay. The only thing it didn't catch was my last name. I can easily change that. And I'm ready to go. Not the only language that we could work with. We could do Russian if we wanted to. See if I can find it. There it is. Добрый день. Спасибо. And it types it right out for me. It even puts it in Cyrillic so that I don't have to convert it. That's it for Google Docs. Tune in next time for our next video, which will look at Google Sheets and Forms, and keep exploring.